But after we gave him all this money, he's nice to us.
Yeah, it's like, I love where she's like, we split it. I'm like, you split it? Sniper Wolf? You made like $50 million on YouTube. 50. Like, that's a child.
It's like when a billionaire or a millionaire is like, I gave $100,000 to this charity, and it's like, oh, so you could write it off on your taxes. You still have millions of dollars.
Yeah. Looking right at Jeff Bezos. Anyway, hi guys.
Oh, we're filming? Oh my god, we were filming the whole time. Oh, execute.
Spencer can cut it out. Although he might not want to.
Oh my gosh.
No, hi guys. Welcome to Pop Culture Curiosities, where Gabe and I get together and tell each other stories from pop culture that interest us, and we also oftentimes tell stories about our own set experiences. We're going back. We're going back. So the last one, we just went back like 3 years. We went back to 2020, the great year, just to make sure that we're reacclimated. We are now going back quite a bit further in history. 2019? We're going to, actually, 1924. Long time ago. When the kids would ride their brachiosauruses to school and they wore rock underwear, according to my parents. Just kidding, they didn't do that. We're going to talk about the disappearance of Agatha Christie. This is a pop culture story. It's also just a really like interesting story in history that we don't talk about enough. Like Agatha Christie, the great like mystery novelist, disappeared, and for like almost 2 weeks, everybody was looking for her. She was a missing person. Oh. Yeah. It all ends well though. Oh, cool. That's good. It doesn't end in like a gruesome tragedy. That's good. I was worried. It's Agatha Christie disappeared. Mystery novelist. They never found her. Yeah, no, can you imagine? It's just like, how did nobody tell me about this? We will be dealing with like talks of self-deletion, self-unaliving. So just a warning, just be cautious of that going forward. But it's not a murder. No one dies. Oh gosh, it's like Derek Barry talking about Stonewall. Derek Barry talking about Stonewall? So what happened was they were talking about, or there were a bunch of drag race queens. They were talking, I can't remember who the host was, but they were talking about Stonewall, and Derek Barry is just going, oh, it was a riot. People were killed. And Willem's just like, nobody was killed at Stonewall. And Derek Barry's just like, nope. Nobody was killed. I'm sure. Spencer, can you please put in a clip of Derek of that like that brief moment? It's like people were killed. Nobody was killed at Stonewall. Nobody. And that's a good thing, isn't it? Yeah. And Willem just like, but that's funny. Sorry. Anyway, I should have said unaliving in those cases. My apologies. But it's okay. But YouTube, you're gonna have to let this one slide. God forbid. YouTube is like, you cannot say the word, even though it's a very real thing that happens. How dare you? And I'm sure Spencer's like, okay, he's asking me to find these like anime clips because last episode I was talking about, oh, Spencer, because Maddie was just like, oh, Wilhelm scream, fade in, and I'm just like, oh, execute, baka, nani, Inosuke laugh. Sorry, Spencer. Spencer's like, I'm not doing any of that.
And I completely understand. I apologize, Spencer.
I respect Spencer for the times that he just cuts in when we're like, sorry we made you do that, Spencer. And the thing comes up on screen. It's like, LOL, I didn't do that. It's like, fair. That's fair.
Yeah, after the Prince Albert situation, I wouldn't be surprised if we never heard from him again.
I'm so sorry, Spencer.
Sorry, Spencer. If you don't know what we're talking about, go back to the Naked and Afraid episode.
It was the Naked. I forgot for 1 second. I was like, how in the world did we even get? Yep, that's how. Yep. Anyway.
Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie. We're going back to... I'm going to do it this way. We're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to kind of cruise. Like that Florida Georgia Line song that I absolutely hated, but it was everywhere. We're going back to 1890, I believe.
Wow.
This is the furthest back we've gone so far.
Wow. Oh, whoa. Can't wait to see what it's like in 1890s. I'm sure equality is rampant. Whoa. Sorry. I'm sure a lot of people didn't appreciate it.
I mean, it's not really a joke so much as it just is a sad fact, I think. You know?
Equality, everyone.
People really like to romanticize the Victorian era because it's so mystical, but, you know, in actuality, the 1890s was a terrible time for most people to be alive.
Yeah. I feel like especially in London, because that's when it's like dirty and gross.
Yeah, we had like child labor. We didn't have child labor laws, and like there's some states in the U.S. that are trying to get back to that.
I saw that,
yeah.
And it's just like you didn't see the picture of the 8-year-old covered in dirt and chain smoking, and didn't think maybe we shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, and before I get a comment from somebody being like, "Why do you have to get political?" I'm like, because there was an 8-year-old working in a meat factory.
Yeah, I remember reading stories about how, the kids are going to their shift at the factory and, you know, a girl got her hair cut, but she was lucky because someone had a knife to cut her hair off so she wouldn't get pulled into the machine.
Some legislator was reading Oliver Twist and got to the "please, sir, may I have some more?" and was like, "Let's do that." And it's just like, no. Anyway,
Agatha Christie.
We're in 1890 when Agatha Christie was. You okay?
Yeah, the air quality is terrible. Sorry, I was making a joke there.
I mean, we live in the time of having to mask up, so we'll just grab some of those. We were just in 2020.
Conveniently.
So, yeah, we were just in 2020, so you know. But Agatha Christie was born this year in 1890 to upper middle class parents. She was homeschooled after her father died, and the family. So Agatha Christie's life is like a roller coaster. There's like really cool things that happen and then really not cool things that happen. So she's born into wealth, and then they kind of lose their wealth and status when the father dies. She's homeschooled. It's kind of strange. Her mother didn't want her to learn to read until the age of 8. I don't know if that was like custom. It might have been customary at the time for girls. I don't know. But she, at age 5, taught herself to read.
Aw.
Yeah, because
cool.
she was so bored and so smart that she just taught herself to read and then was obsessed with books her entire life. She became, I'm sure everybody knows, but you know, she went on to become the most prolific murder mystery novelist of all time. So kind of makes sense. It's fitting. Agatha met her future husband, Archibald Archie Christie. They all call him Archie, so I will too. In 1912, he was a military man. He was an Air Force pilot who fought in World War I. So before they were even calling it one, they were just calling it the Great War. That's how far back in history we are. Everything is in sepia tone.
Oh, I love that. Here, I'm just going to take some photos, save that for later. What? They called it fake? Ugh.
Have you ever seen those things on TikTok where people are like, we recolorize these videos from the late 1800s. Wow, they look like regular people. It's like, yeah, because people were still people back in 1890s. I know it was a different like time, but still.
We weren't all cave people back in the 1800s, everybody.
So it's interesting because Archie was fighting in World War I. Agatha, I believe, met him because she was also pitching in efforts for World War I. Pretty much everybody was, even if you were a woman and you weren't allowed to fight, you were doing something on the home front. But they wanted to get married, but like he was in the military, so like they kind of had to wait for a time where they were able to get married. But it's interesting because Agatha's mom did not like Archie.
Oh.
She told her straight up that like she thought he would cheat on her, and she was just like, "Don't marry that one."
Oh well.
So that's awkward. But despite her mom's warnings, she married Archie Christmas Eve of 1914, which is kind of cute.
Oh.
So in 1919, Agatha gave birth to her one and only daughter, Rosalind. I like that name. It's a good old-fashioned name. And she had always enjoyed writing short stories, but struggled to get published. And one day, her sister made her a bet that she couldn't write a good mystery.
Oh.
And that's when she wrote what would become her first published novel, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, which she also had to shop around for a little bit. So, like, if you're a writer trying to get your stuff out there, even Agatha Christie had a hard time. So, yeah. Oh, also, before I go any further, two of my main resources for this were Georgia Marie, who's a great true crime YouTuber, and Unsolved Mystery, BuzzFeed's Unsolved Mysteries, which I don't believe they do anymore, but that was also a good little documentary research. So love both of them. Go check out those videos. But anyway, she writes The Mysterious Affair at Styles. It is published in 1920, and for the next 6 years, because she signs a contract to write more books for the publisher. So for the next 6 years, she has widespread success and fame, and she wrote many more stories. And she becomes the most well-known mystery novelist of her time, and she's still the most known. You ever read any of Agatha Christie's novels?
Probably, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I know I read at least, and then there were none, and then, which used to have a very racist title. Two very racist titles, but find that on your own time. Jesus. But I know I read that and also The Orient Express back in like middle school, but not since then, so I don't really remember. I remember liking them in middle school. I wonder if now me would be like as interested. She was known as a very prolific, very talented author. But then in 1926, Agatha's mother died, and she was really close with her mother, and she was devastated. I know it's sad. She was already prone to like depression and insomnia, so of course this all got worse. So this is like a low point. She had like the really high point of being really famous again, and then, personal problems. And then to make things worse, right when all of this is happening, she finds out that her mother, her now late mother, was right about Archie. He's having an affair with his secretary, Nancy Neal.
Oh, no. Oh, the cliche. Archibald. How dare you? Archibald, you son of a biscuit.
Don't
cheat.
Yeah.
Execute.
We don't stand Archie. He does not pass the vibe check.
And I don't mean like execute him. I'm just like dramatically like execute.
Anyway. Oh, it is worth noting. Some sources say she was his secretary, some say not. So just putting that out there. But he's cheating with a girl much younger, and it's still a big cliche. He's cheating with a girl named Nancy Neal. So all of this is pretty much what you need to know going into the 1926. I was wrong the first time. It was 1926. We're now in 1926. Hi. The roaring 20s. It's December 3rd, and this is when our crime happens.
Did someone do a crime?
Our mystery surrounding the great mystery novelist herself. So on December 3rd, 9:45 p.m. about, Agatha Christie packs her bag from her home, and interestingly, she named her first home that she bought with her money that was coming in from her really successful career. She named it Styles after her first book, which I think is endearing. So she leaves her home. She packs a bag at her home in Styles. She kisses her now 12-year-old daughter goodnight. She tells her secretary via a note that she won't be back that night, and she drives off in her car. And yes, I looked up a picture. The car does look like the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, like it's a 1920s car. It's a very like old looking car. It kind of looks like the car in the first Cars, the old lady car that's really old. It's that kind of car. So she drives off in her 1920s car. And she leaves her home, which was in Sunningdale, England. I've never been to England. I'm not good with my England geography, but here are the notes that I took for those who know that area. So this is the night of December 3rd. Now on December 4th at 8 p.m., Agatha's car is found abandoned and hanging off a cliff at Newlands Corner, roughly 30 minutes away from her house. Clothes are found in the car, as well as a briefcase full of what looks like super important papers. And I believe her passport or ID, driver's license, that kind of thing. I'm like, it's 1926. I don't know how they identify themselves. That identification is in the car, probably in the bag with all the other important papers, but she's nowhere to be found. I think the clothes were like strewn, kind of, because it's a car accident. She's nowhere to be found. No trace of her. Police start searching the surrounding woodlands, and this goes on for days, and they find no trace of her anywhere. So it's looking pretty shaky. And again, like, this is a very famous person at the time. So imagine like a very famous author now just up and going missing.
Stephen King.
Right, especially if it's like somebody who's associated with like Stephen King isn't so much associated with mystery, it's more horror, but like,
James Patterson.
James Patterson goes missing. God forbid. James Patterson, I hope you're doing well. Check on it's 3:11 p.m. Do you know where your James Patterson is? You know those old commercials that's like, it's the PSAs that were like, it's 10:45. Do you know where your teenager is? And it was like, yeah, that was what I was. For those of you who aren't old, I'm sorry. Anyway, not that we're old. Not that we're old. Not as old as us. Let's put it that way. So yeah, imagine this happens. The media goes crazy, especially by December 6th. The Times reports that famous mystery novelist Agatha Christie has gone missing from the home named for her first published mystery story, and the public loses their collective minds. Everybody's like, we gotta find her. Where is she? She was also writing at the time. She's working on a manuscript. So, like, no, not to spoil anything, but she's found eventually. Like, can you imagine if she never finished the manuscript? People are going to be like, what happened?
Oh, gosh. Then they're going to try to find someone to complete it, and it turns out terrible. And people are like, what the heck, Agatha Christie? And she just pops out, and she's like, it's not my fault. Agatha?
It's going to be like, that episode of Doctor Who where the Ninth Doctor and Rose go back and they see Charles Dickens, and like he died in working on a manuscript, and so he tells them like the end of the manuscript, and they're like, oh, that's how it was supposed to end.
Oh. Whoopsies.
I believe there is also an episode of Doctor Who with Agatha Christie, I believe. I think. If I'm misremembering that, I'm sorry, Whovians, but I'm sure that's a thing.
I just remember the one with Van Gogh.
That's a good one.
It was really sad.
Where he has an existential crisis because he sees how important his paintings are. Yeah, I like that episode. It's very sad, but I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So Archie, the husband, we don't like Archie.
Cheating a-hole.
So he tells the press that she's been suffering from a nervous breakdown, but other close friends and family refuted those claims. So, is that true? Is he just trying to slander her in the press? We know that she was depressed. I don't know that she was having a nervous breakdown. Those are two different things. Anyway, Archie's seeming a little bitter.
Archie.
December 7th comes around, and the giant countrywide manhunt is called off when Agatha's brother receives a letter from Agatha saying that she was staying in a spa in Yorkshire after falling ill. But the story doesn't end there, because why would it? People are still not happy with this answer because Agatha fails to show up in person, and they reissue the search. I guess, like, I guess they just didn't even bother to, like, verify this as far as I'm aware. They were just, like, they just assumed that this was fake, or were sure that this was fake because she was not present. But anyway, the brother's like, I got a letter, and they're like, no, you didn't. And then they keep looking.
I'm sure someone was like, oh, if you need someone to trek all the way to the spa in Yorkshire, if you need a volunteer, I would be happy to dedicate my time to help look for her at the spa. And they're like, no, it's fine. It's like, are you sure?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they deduced that this was not of any interest to them, but they did somehow. So that gets waved away, and they reissue the search. And with no new leads, police, friends, and family resorted to unconventional methods. It's 1926, remember. So Archie, the husband, brings her dog to the scene of the disappearance to try to pick up her scent. The dog just kind of whined and was just like, take me home.
What am I doing here? Someone needs to pick up after themselves. This is filthy.
That's the best you got, Archie? Your wife is missing and you're like, I don't know, bring the dog out there. He'll find her.
He's probably happy she's gone so he can marry the secretary.
Put a pin in that.
Oh.
Come back to that.
Oh.
There's a pin. There you go. We are putting a pin in it. If you're not looking at me, I'm reaching back and pushing a push pin into it. Sorry. The prop was right there.
It's just like, oh, look, a pin, and you're just like my giant board full of pins, and I'm just like, I really need everybody look to the left. Oh. I
mean, that's a stitch marker, so it just is a curved pin, to be fair.
Okay, thank you for helping me feel better.
You're welcome.
Spencer just puts in the baka, but it's like pointed at me, and I'm like, oh.
No. Don't do that, Spencer. How could you be so mean, Spencer?
I deserve it, Spencer. We'll know when we see the episode if he did it or not, so we'll know.
So after the dog picking up scent theory, that was brilliant by Archie, by the way, doesn't pan out. I find this so interesting. Friend and fellow mystery novelist Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, because remember, he's kicking around at that time.
Oh.
I don't know if you know about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He was big into spiritualism, like really, really big. His big dream was he wanted to shake off the dust of that little Sherlock Holmes thing he had going on and start writing books about fairies being real. It's a whole thing. Arthur Conan Doyle could get a whole podcast episode in and of himself. He was an interesting person. But anyway, because he's so spiritualist, he takes one of her gloves to a clairvoyant to ask for help. And, like, not saying that, like, any of that is true or not true, but this doesn't lead to anything in this particular case, so.
Thank you for your help. At least he did more than the husband.
That ranks higher than Archie bringing the dog out and being like, nope, he can't find her, let's go home.
Yeah. Archie.
He was a homie. He like took one of her gloves to a clairvoyant and was like, "Can you help me find my friend? Her husband isn't doing anything about it." We want friends like that in your life. Have friends that will take your gloves to clairvoyants if you ever go missing.
I'll just use this adorable dinosaur. I don't want to like come to your house if you're missing and be like, hey, can I just borrow a glove real quick? I know you're very upset right now.
If I go missing, you can take anything from this room and just be like, anybody that can sense where she is, tell us.
Or I'll just be like, Avery, your protein shake is about to go bad. Where are you?
The Scooby-Doo running sound.
I was in the basement the entire time.
I was hiding in the attic like Balloon Boy.
Wilhelm scream. A plasma field surrounding a balloon is such a good idea, you guys.
We haven't gotten over it. We really haven't gotten over it.
I just kind of want to be like a pot stirrer with Maddie because Maddie loves the last season of Game of Thrones. And I'm like, no, I think that's actually a good idea. I don't know what Maddie was talking about. There is feasible science behind a plasma field.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my side on season 8 of Game of Thrones being bad. Thank you.
Maddie's gonna be she's gonna be in a video and just be like, you know that friend of yours, the ginger one with no soul? I don't like him. Or she'll be like, I like him. He's one of the only people against me in my opinions.
Well, side tangent. Maddie wants to have an episode in the future where we just argue about Game of Thrones. Not a sponsor. Pay your people.
Pay your people.
Just argue about whether or not it's good or not. And I'm like, do you though?
but there comes a point where it's like you're so set in your ways that it's just other opinions. You're like, flaw. So I can see someone being in that opinion, but it's just like, how do you crack the box? And I'm sure Maddie's like, oh, you've gotten your friend against me. It'll be in that one movie where it's like, you've turned them against me. You are the chosen one. I have the high ground. Slash. Because I don't want to talk about the movie, so I'm like, here's some hints.
My brain was like, that one movie. Oh yeah. My brain took a second to catch up. I was laughing at myself. No, but Maddie can like season 8 of Game of Thrones. That's fine. I don't want to see season 8 of Game of Thrones or any Game of Thrones anything ever again because I'm still salty.
We can have healthy debates about it. We're not just going to bring someone on to surprise them and be like, your opinions are stupid. You're trapped in this closet. What are you going to do? We want to get high ratings on this episode. Cry.
Oh, I know for a fact Maddie would love to argue about Game of Thrones being good, season 8 being good. And surely there are some people that might agree with her. I'm not one of them, but
there are more that believe in the opposite opinion, but
yeah. I mean, the whole subreddit got turned into a Lord of the Rings subreddit out of protest because they were all so mad about it.
Because usually the people on Reddit are united in their hatred most of the time. So if it gets to the point where they literally have to change the subreddit, it's like, ooh, people were mad. I remember how angry people were on Reddit about that one spinoff of Naked and Afraid, which I despise and will not talk about unless you pay me for it. But anyway.
It's like, Gabe, the writer's strike or the SAG strike will end if you talk about the show.
Yes, I will talk about my hatred for days about Last One Standing. But anyway, Agatha Christie.
Anyway, Agatha Christie's still missing.
Sorry, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you did your best. Archibald, do better.
Do better. Be better, honestly.
Be better. Don't cheat.
There was another weird thing unconventional thing, I'll say that. Unconventional thing they did. Oh yeah, people started scouring her novels and manuscripts thinking that maybe she left clues in plain sight as to where she was.
I feel like I've seen that on a TV show before.
Yeah, basically they were like, it was like an ARG before ARGs. They're like, maybe she left a clue in this other random book.
The first letter of each line will spell something out. It'll spell it spells Chicago. That has to mean something.
That would have been cool, but that they also didn't find anything.
Dang it.
It's even believed that this was the first time ever that airplanes were deployed in a missing persons case.
Oh.
That's how far back in time we are. We're almost 100 years back in time at this point.
The Wright brothers are like, yes.
Yeah. They're like, we got the flying contraptions. Get those out there.
Someone's like, them flying contraptions, nothing will ever come of that.
Yeah, fast forward to Balloon Boy and the guy that's just like, it's an alien.
Plasma field.
Go watch our other episodes. I'm sorry, guys. But yes. I just think the first time airplanes were used in a missing persons, they believe that. That's wild to me. The first time, and it was for Agatha Christie. Valid.
Awesome.
Next, it's reported that in addition to the note she left for the secretary, because remember I told you she left a note saying she wasn't going to be in that night to the secretary, the that note told her to cancel all of her appointments for that weekend. Agatha promises to stay in touch in that note. She isn't staying in touch, so
she lied?
Or something happened. The secretary is very concerned. But it turns out, because the secretary comes forward with that piece of information like immediately. The secretary is doing the most to find her. She loved Agatha.
Oh.
She thinks she defended her in the press. She's great boss. She's a great lady.
Yay.
But meanwhile, what turns out is that she left 2 other letters that night. One for her husband and one for her husband's brother.
Oh.
Wouldn't you know? Both of those letters never made it to the police because the husband, Archie, and his brother said that there was nothing of value in them and they burned them before anybody else could see them. So we have no idea what it said.
Archie.
So it's a pretty good time right now to point out the fact that at this point, the media has dug into Archie and is convinced, especially after hearing about his affair, that he has killed Agatha. They believe that he is trying to kill her so that he can marry the maybe secretary.
Scandal.
So his life this is not a very good 2 weeks for him. Which,
oh well.
Oopsie. I feel so bad.
Ooh, we don't care.
Ooh, they think I'm a murderer. Too bad, Archie. Jesus.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's like, ooh, woo, I tried to help too. He's a bad guy.
Archie was 1920s Scandival. He's Sandoval. He's like, it's really hard on me. I had to have an affair.
We had a child together and we were together for so long, but she had more success than me. So I accidentally fell into the arms of my not secretary one night and she comforted me and oopsies. I don't know how it happened.
I was just buying so many paper towels. Go watch our Scandal episode, courtesy of Gabe. I love that episode. It's just Gabe being like, and then this happened. And I'm like, no.
The secretary's name is Rachel, ironically. Or the not secretary.
So Archie and Nancy, the mistress, are both people of interest in this case. Fair. Probably some of the only decent police work the cops have been doing. So on December 14th, she's now been gone for 11 days. Reports that a woman's tracks, a fur coat, and a poison bottle were found at the crash site.
Yzma?
Yzma? It had a little llama thing on it.
Sorry, I just had it.
Did you know that? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say my first thought was with poison bottle and like a woman's coat. I'm just like Yzma.
Right, the poison for Cusco. Cusco's poison. That poison?
I never liked your spinach puffs ever. Yeah, sorry.
Did you know that East Atlanta has 3 different mascots? One is a llama, one is a dragon, and one is a rooster. Fun fact. Anyway,
why add the llama and the rooster when you have a dragon?
I don't know.
I'm sure all the roosters and llamas are going to come to my house and be like, you son of a biscuit.
Roosters are also kind of an emblem of Portugal, where some of our family's from. So it's we're like, yay, roosters. Go roosters. I don't know why roosters, but roosters.
I'm just thinking like, oh, there's the other name for roosters that they could be hinting at something there, but that's highly inappropriate. And we do not think that way. I am a PG person.
That movie that we worked on with The Rock.
The Rock?
Or not The Rock.
Cena.
John Cena. Sorry.
Oh, side note, when you were talking to Maddie, I was just thinking, oh, that's the person that Avery was talking about who texted saying you B word when you got wrapped early.
I love that story. It's so funny.
Oh gosh, I remember that set. That was probably one of the first times where the guy's wardrobe was more elaborate than the women's wardrobe.
Yeah, you guys were all in like 3-piece prom suits.
Yes, but I was fortunately not the person to complain about or I was not the guy who complained about the shoes he had to wear while surrounded by women in heels. And all the women did a slow turn. I could hear the suspense music and I just walked away.
You were that Homer Simpson meme where he just kind of backs into the bush slowly.
Yes.
I can just picture it. Oh
I will be the final guy in that horror film.
One day when the strike is over, maybe we'll just get together and tell stories about that set.
Yes, but hopefully it'll end in the next week.
Please.
The talks are going quote unquote well, apparently. Ooh woo, please.
They're meeting as we speak. The last time we said that on podcast, it was the writer's strike, and they ended up clearing up the strike like 2 days later, so
I might need to get a new job if they don't.
Let's all think good thoughts. They're all Spencer's editing this in the future and he knows the outcome and he's just gonna like put the like they say still haven't resolved it. Dun 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 dun. I can see it coming. Anyway, back to Agatha Christie being missing.
Execute. Anyway. Yeah, sorry, I keep sidetracking everything.
Oh no, that's me. Like I said in the last episode that they saw, I have ADHD. Madison has ADHD. Always fun. Anyway, December 14th, they find a woman's tracks, a fur coat, and a poison bottle at this crash site. I don't know how they would have missed this, because they were scouring the whole site for days. And then one day they were just like, oopsie. So, like, I don't know if, like, that was planted there by, like, a third party, just, like, messing with them. I don't know if they're just really, really bad at police work, which, you know, is plausible. We have a lot of cops today that aren't very good at police work, and there's like all the DNA evidence and all the extra stuff that they didn't have in 1926. Anyway, December 15th, Agatha Christie is found, but it gets weirder.
Oh.
Okay, so at this point, she's been missing for 12 days. She's been missing for 12 days. A waiter at the Hydropathic Hotel in Yorkshire called the police saying that one of their guests looked like Agatha Christie. Remember that letter she sent to her brother saying, hey, this is where I am? Apparently that's where she was. But it doesn't end there. You would think it ends there because, remember, everybody was looking for her. And the waiter wasn't even the first person that alerted police because there was also like a banjo player that like played at the resort like a few nights before, who was just like, I saw what looked like Agatha Christie just throwing down on the dance floor.
Wow, if only we would follow up on this one lead that we got that said exactly where she was.
Yeah, so she isn't even like inconspicuously there.
I'm just imagining her in like a massive fur coat and like a hat and glasses, and people are like, Agatha Christie, and she's like, how did you know? And there's like a name tag on her that says Agatha Christie.
Oh, the police even went as far as to put out sketches of what Agatha Christie would look like in disguise, and specifically dressed as a man, because they're like, she might be in the big city in disguise. She wasn't.
The biggest disguise of them all, a man.
There's pictures like from an old-timey newspaper where they've like mocked up what she would look like cross-dressing. They're like, she might be in London dressed as a guy.
Now I feel bad for anyone who in London. Look, Agatha Christie. I'm very.
They're just stopping guys on the street being like, you, Agatha Christie.
And it's like,
He's like got a big handlebar mustache and he's like, huh?
Or I'm trying to, I can't remember the word, but it's, I'm very self-conscious about my appearance because people say that I have effeminate features. And for you to say that just really hurts my feelings. Agatha, take the hat off. Ow, that's my hair.
What is that from? Like, is that a thing? Is that a reference to something that I don't know?
No, I just made that up.
Okay. It's very funny. It just felt like something from something else. And I was like, do I not know something? Anyway.
When I sound confident about something, it's coming from my own brain because whenever I'm like, oh, I've listened to that Tyra yelling speech so many times. I can't. And then I try to say it and I can't say it. Anyway.
So the banjo player was like, I saw Agatha Christie throwing down on the dance floor. The waiter was like, hi, we have somebody that looks like Agatha Christie here. The police are like, maybe we should follow up on this one.
Ooh, oopsie. I know we were told before, but we didn't think it was real. Whoopsies.
Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. So Agatha Christie, it turns out, checked into this hotel under the name Tressa Neal, and was claiming to be from Cape Town, Africa. Now, it's interesting because, remember, the mistress's name is Nancy Neal.
Oh.
So it's interesting. I'll circle back to that. But anyway, she's claiming to be Tressa Neal from Cape Town, Africa. And, they find out that she's here. And Archie hears this, and he's pissed because it turns out that the night that she disappeared, it was right before the weekend, if you remember, and he had plans to go spend the weekend with Nancy. And his plans were ruined because his pesky wife went missing. And he's pissed. And they think he's a murderer. And he's all mad at her. So he goes down there in what I'm sure would have been a perfect TLC moment, if not for it being in 1926. He goes down there to confront her in person.
Someone get Andy in a camera.
Someone get a camera. Get a very old-timey camera. In an absolute baller move, she apparently he goes into the dining room and he waits, and she comes into the dining room like she's apparently done for about almost 2 weeks now. She sits down and she opens up a paper with her own missing picture on the cover. And it's just flipping through the paper. And Archie goes over to her and she stares at him and pretends not to know him.
I love this so much.
I would have paid so much money to see. Well, I mean, we can see it, obviously, because we're here in the time machine, but,
Oh, yeah. Oh, there. Yep, just going to record this.
Can you even imagine? People even said, because she had the same surname as Archie's mistress, and the press had found out about Nancy Neal at this point. So when it came out that she was staying at this place under the mistress's surname, the reporters were like, excuse me, Archie, do you not notice the similarities here? He deflected, saying, no, she had amnesia. And she had even put advertisements out in the paper to try to find family members to come back and find her because she genuinely couldn't remember who she was. Now, it's interesting because people reported after this, people who had been at the hotel with her, said that she even because people are like, okay, if you had amnesia, wouldn't you see your picture in the paper and then be like, oh, that's me. That's me. But apparently she had even gone up to other people in the dining room and been like, I think I said dining car before as if this was a train. It wasn't a train. It was a dining room. Anyway, she apparently pointed out how similar she and the missing woman looked to other people who waved her off. And we're just like, weird. And she claimed that she did not realize that she was the missing woman and thought the missing woman was dead. She said she had just assumed she was probably dead.
Oh.
So anyway, after all of this, she took her daughter and she moved in with her sister.
Oh, okay.
To hide out from the media and also Archie. She never spoke about her disappearance, save for in 1928 when she told the Daily Mail that she had once contemplated driving her car off a cliff, but in that particular day, her daughter was in the car, so she didn't.
Oh.
I know, it's very sad. Here is the quote. Quote, that, well, also, by the way, the Daily Mail, it's so funny to think about still being around in 1928.
Yes, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's still around?
The trashy tabloid?
They heard you say, they're writing. The Daily Mail is writing that saying you're a trashy tabloid.
I mean...
You calling them trashy tabloid?
They are a trashy tabloid.
Okay, suck it. Just kidding, I like this dragon. Here, what do I not like in this room? Oh, I like everything. I'll just throw the middle finger. I'm doing it off camera, everyone, at them. I'm totally doing it. Anyway.
Agatha said to the Daily Mail, that night I felt terribly miserable. I felt that I could go on no longer. I left home that night in a state of high nervous strain with the intention of doing something desperate. When I reached a point on the road, which I thought was near the quarry, where she had wanted to drive her car off the cliff before, she turned the car off the road, down the hill towards it, left the wheel, so took her hands off the wheel, and let the car run. The car struck something with a jerk and pulled up suddenly. She says she was flung against the steering wheel and her head hit something. Up to this moment, I was Miss Christie. She goes on to say that she, after that, did not remember who she was. She claims genuinely she didn't remember who she was. 2 separate doctors did diagnose her with temporary memory loss, but the public accused her of pulling a PR stunt. And it's cute. Her secretary, when asked about the possibility of it being a PR stunt, she shrugged it off and said, she's much too much of a lady for that. She really liked her boss. It was very cute. You'll be happy to know she divorced Archie in 1928.
Yay! We stan a queen.
He married his mistress, Nancy Neal, 1 week later.
Ugh. I hope they divorced.
I actually don't know what happened to them. I didn't. Once he was out of Agatha's life, I was just like, I don't care about him anymore.
As long as he's out of her life.
Agatha. Sorry. No, you go ahead.
Archie, we know you're not listening to this. Rude. Don't be like Archie. No one stands Archie in this story.
He's been dead for a good bit of time, but, you know, if he's watching from the beyond, he's definitely going to haunt us now.
There's like one of his offsprings is watching this and be like, my great grandfather was a good man. And we'll be like, no.
Agatha was able to finish the novel she had been working on at the time of her disappearance. It came out under the title Mystery of the Blue Train.
Oh.
Not to be confused with that Nancy Drew game I made you play, Mystery Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon. different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she also fulfilled her lifelong dream of writing on the Orient Express, and it inspired her to write the famous novel Murder on the Orient Express.
Yay!
I thought that was cute that was a lifelong dream of hers that she got to do. In 1930, she remarried
Yay!
to an archaeologist named Max Mallowan.
Ooh.
I know. What a 1930s, 1920s archaeologist name. Max Mallowan.
Yeah. For a second, I thought you were going to be like Indiana Jonesing or something like that. It's like, huh.
It said that this marriage was much happier than her marriage to Archie. Because of course it was. Because it's not to Archie.
Yeah.
I've never been so mad about somebody who lived so long ago. Just like, this is like some reality show bullshit.
Yeah. Oh God. We've been watching so many reality shows. It's like, okay, we need to get to the drama. Who do we like? Who do we stand? Who do we dislike? Who do we need to cancel? We're canceling Archie. Well, we don't need to be canceling Archie. Why not? Because he was alive in the 20s. So, you know, I'm sorry. I had a prolonged lapse in judgment. I apologize to Archie and his estate for being so mean.
Our content was always to entertain. The purpose of our content was always to entertain.
Or should I'm sorry, fellow people who I relate to as I'm dressed as Nezuko. Wink. I apologize for the way that I was. Wow. Sorry, I'm imitating someone that I'm not going to say because I don't want them to sue me.
So the quote, "The purpose of my content was always to entertain," is a reference to Jack's films. Also known as the poor guy that got doxxed on the internet by Redacted. I don't want to give her any more attention than she's already gotten from me.
Side note, I enjoyed watching you get upset.
I was very upset. I literally came up here when that tweet came out from YouTube where they're like, we don't like the behavior on both sides. I was like, that's it. And I came up here and I sat down and I filmed.
The cell block tango started playing in the background, but instead of he, it was they. Because it's multiple people who have done things wrong. But not the person who was doxxed, mind you. They did nothing wrong.
Yes, criticizing somebody and doxing them are the same thing. Anyway.
Agatha Christie living her best life with the archaeologist.
Yeah, she gets remarried to the archaeologist. She's much happier. She begins to write prolifically again. Sometimes writing 2 to 3 books a year.
Oh, my gosh.
And she goes on to live a long and fulfilled life. Now, let's go to theories about what some people have posed over the years could have possibly happened. I have 4 theories.
Where's the memes with aliens?
Yeah, I forgot about that meme. Aliens. That guy. What channel was that? History Channel that stopped caring about history a long time ago.
Like TLC stopped caring about learning. Well, again, learning how not to act, but I don't think that was the point.
Different kind of learning. We're learning different lessons these days from TLC.
What I want to know is if there's any like reality show drama noteworthiness over the not really feud, but how history and Discovery don't like each other, and that's why people on Naked and Afraid can't be on Alone, and people on Alone can't be on Naked and Afraid.
Interesting.
Is Alone on History Channel? Shoot, did I just get that wrong? Wait, hold on. I'm gonna Google this.
While you're Googling that, let me posit the first of 4 theories, because we're solving a mystery today. The first theory was one that the media posed pretty much for most of the time, even when she was missing, that this was all a publicity stunt. Quickly after her disappearance, the media posed that this was just a stunt to promote her new book at the time, The Murder of Richard Ackroyd. It's not new anymore. It's about 100 years old now. But then back then it was new. Which it had recently been published. But people have noted then, as they note to this day, the book was already a huge success when this happened. So, like, there's not really that much of a motivation. Like, the book's already, like, on the bestseller list. She's already, like, super famous. Like, I don't know. It's sort of like when celebrities date other celebrities that people don't like, and they're like, they're just doing it for fame. And it's like, they're already super famous. It's kind of like that. So, that theory kind of falls apart in my personal opinion. Also, the secretary vehemently denied this, like I said. She said her employer was, quote, quite too much a lady for that. A very British way to answer that question.
Oh, she was such a lady.
Quite too much a lady for that.
Oh, quite so much a lady. I need to work on my British accent.
She also apparently hated being famous and had terrible stage fright, so a stunt to get her more famous really wasn't in her nature, says most of the people who know her, except for maybe Archie, who just wanted her to look bad. Archie. Don't be
an Archie, everybody. Be a Max the archaeologist.
Yeah, we stand Max.
Yay,
Max is husband material.
Yeah. Once we're done, I want to go and meet Max. Just be like, oh, hi, Agatha. Max, how are you? And then someone be like, oh, because he's a man? And I'm like, no, because he made her happy.
Yeah, because he's not Archie.
Yep.
All right, so the second theory is that possibly she did this, she disappeared, for using a modern term, to cancel Archie.
Oh.
This is an interesting theory. Some believe that this was a very clever ruse by Christie to shame Archie for cheating, as she may have known that the publicity would cause reporters to dig up their private life, which they did, and her car had been found just 6 miles away from Nancy Neal's house. She was staying at the hotel under Nancy Neal's last name. And she had found out the night before she went missing that Archie was planning to go spend the weekend with Nancy. So her being missing ruined his weekend. So I will say this. If she did all of this to stick it to Archie, good for her. I support this. That's valid.
We stand a... I don't want to say petty, but I can't think of it. We stand a petty queen. Even though he deserved it.
Well, it's like Swoop taking it to Petty University. I love Swoop. If you don't watch Swoop or in her documentaries, you should. Swoop is good. She did a whole she's done like a 4-part series on the ukulele situation.
Toxic gossip train.
And just other situations. She's covered all kinds of other stuff. Shout out to Swoop. I love Swoop. It's also rumored that Agatha's sister-in-law, so Archie's sister, was also in on it, and like, because people have wondered, like, she had all this cash, and like, how did she like get the cash and like the extra clothes? Because a bunch of like her clothes were found at the scene, so like maybe somebody helped her, like brought her stuff, and it's posited that that could have been the sister-in-law, who I guess also wasn't a big fan of her brother at that current moment.
And if she did do that, then yes.
Also, the sister-in-law had been a lifelong friend of Agatha since they were kids, so it's possible that she probably took her side in the divorce. Nice. So that's the second theory, which I find by far the funniest theory. The third theory is the one that Agatha claimed for the rest of her life, and she barely talked about it, but the one time she did, she stuck to the story that she did indeed hit her head in the initial car crash, and she was found to have a cut on her head when they found her. She did get diagnosed by 2 different doctors with temporary amnesia. Whether or not, how they diagnosed that back in 1926, I'm not sure, but I don't know. She says that she hit her head in the car crash, and then she couldn't remember who she was, and she ended up at the hotel in a haze and believed herself to be a new woman, which is possible. It's also possible that her poor mental health and chronic insomnia and all the stress that she was under because of her mother dying and Archie existing could have also contributed to that. And then, she hit her head, and that was, the last little bit to kind of send her over the edge. She claims that she didn't realize she was the missing woman. Like I said, she thought the missing woman, Miss Christie, was dead. And she even claims to have pointed out the resemblance between her and other people. And I guess people were just like, weird. And then the final theory is one that I also think is very possible. As somebody who struggles with mental health, she could have just hit her breaking point with the depression of losing her mom and the depression of Archie existing and the stress and the everything, and she's having writer's block and all these other things. She might have just said fuck it and been like, you know what? I'm gone for a couple weeks. And then, like, as things started getting crazier and crazier, I think, honestly, it's fair to wonder if she pointed out to other people that she looked like the other lady, because in an Agatha Christie way, she might have just wanted to see if anybody could find her. That's possible. And if that is what she did, I don't blame her either for claiming that she lost her memory, because in the 1920s, like, nobody was talking about mental health like we are now. So, like nowadays, if you were just like, yeah, I had a depressive mental break, like, I couldn't take it anymore, I think people would be very, like, understanding to that. But back in the 1920s, people probably wouldn't have been as sympathetic. So that makes sense if that is what she did and she felt like she couldn't say that. I find that understandable. But yeah, nobody really knows for sure.
Only Agatha knows for sure.
It was Agatha all along.
Oh yeah. Is that why the dog's name was Archie?
Was his name Archie?
Oh my gosh, was it the dog's name? I
thought it was Sparky.
Never mind. Oh my gosh, I thought the dog's name was Archie, and that would have been like, oh, never mind. I'm so sorry, but yeah, well, that Agatha we do not stand.
I gotta look it up now. WandaVision dog. But anyway,
I think you were right. But and Alone is on History
Sparky.
Channel. Dang it! I thought I was having like a clever moment, a nice meta moment. And Alone is on History Channel. So.
But yeah, that's the disappearance of Agatha. Do you have one of these theories that you lean towards more than the others?
I lean towards the just reaching her breaking point and just being like, you know what, I need a break.
I think that makes a lot of sense too. if she did it, and it could have been she could have hit her breaking point and also wanted to get back at Archie. The idea that she did it to get back at Archie makes me laugh. I think that's very funny because Archie's life got put through absolute hell for a little bit, and it's just like either that's a very Agatha Christie way to get even with somebody, or that's just karma.
Yeah. Whereas insert Zoe execute the plan.
It's just like, oh no, I feel so bad for you. You were cheating on your wife, and now you can't cheat on your wife this weekend. Oh dear.
And then we see a picture of Archie, and he's super handsome. And I'm like, I think I've forgiven. You're like, no, Gabe, stick to the script.
Stay strong.
He cheated.
Stay strong. Wait,
reality TV show has ruined me.
Agatha and Archie. I want to find picture. I did see a picture. I can't remember.
My first thought is they had photographs in the 20s, and I'm like, yes, you idiot, they did. No, we hate Archie. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
He was a 1920s fuckboy. Anyway.
Sorry. Also, yes. Also looking at him, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not calling him ugly. I want to point that out. I'm not calling him ugly, but I'm not calling him handsome enough for me to forgive him in the reality TV show sense, where like the handsome men get away with it.
When you know what he did, it's a little harder to be like, ooh, dreamy.
I hope he had a bad marriage to the secretary.
Agatha Christie Max.
Ooh, yes, archaeologist Max.
Oh, wedding. Can I see a
wedding?
Oh, look at them. Oh. Look at how cute they are. I'm going to have to remember to send these to Spencer. Look at how happy. Look, she looks so happy.
Oh, we stand happy Agatha Christie.
Look.
Oh
my gosh, they look so happy. This makes me happy. Oh, this is them older.
Oh,
I'm happy. That makes me happy.
Yay! I'm so happy for Max and mainly Agatha.
Yeah.
But that's so nice.
You're cool with us if you're cool with Agatha.
Yeah. If you were like, well, maybe, or it's just like, if anyone's like, oh, but what about Archie? What about Archie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, if you're happy for Agatha, you're good with us. But if you're trying to be like, but the two sides, no, there are no two sides. He cheated. End of story. If he wasn't happy, he should have divorced her first.
I love that we don't know anything about Agatha Christie as a person, but we're just like, you know what? In this moment, we hate Archie, and that means we love Agatha.
She's brilliant, and she's a great writer, and she and Max were happy.
She was brilliant. She did write it. She did have a very sus name for that one book that one time. But anyway, I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it. It's bad. I don't like that, Agatha. That's bad. But anyway,
it's like the thing before some of the Warner Bros. Like Looney Tunes cartoons, where it's just like these are products of their time, but if we didn't show it, then we wouldn't. It would be like not or it would be taking away like an educating moment or something like that.
Well, they did rename the book, which is good because the name of the book. Anyway. Congratulations that she didn't have to be married to Archie anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's that. That's the disappearance of Agatha Christie. She was gone, and then she showed back up. And I think it's interesting. If she did go missing on purpose, no one was able to solve her mystery.
She literally spells out everything.
Yeah. If she wanted people to find her, everyone let her down because no one was able to find her.
I'm sure her secretary was busy trying to deal with people being like, where's Agatha? And she's like, please hold. But yeah. Or unless she knew, the nice secretary knew what was going on and was like, oh, I'll just be here.
I mean, that's possible too.
All right.
But yeah. Yeah, that's that story. And I think it's one of my favorite stories from history because it's just so bizarre. And it doesn't end in like gruesome murder. That's always nice.
Oh.
I love true crime, and I love true crime that doesn't end in murder.
I remember there's a TV show on Peacock that I can't talk about where it's basically the couple who listens to the true crime podcast until they witness a true crime in real life. And I'm like, why are people so obsessed with this?
True crime, It's a very like I'm just really interested in like forensics and like how crimes get solved, like technically and stuff. And it's also just there's a lot of crazy true crime stories in history that are just, you know, scary but, you know, interesting in how they like went about solving it. It is weird when people are like one of the true crime people that I follow is like the big thing is just like if I see you saying anything positive about any of these serial killers, you're gone.
Yeah, that's a thing that's
weird.
That's weird to me. Like I think it, or my mom likes to say, "Oh, I watch these crime shows because I love the way that they're solved." But when people are like, "Oh, Jeffrey Dahmer," and
I think that's a very vocal minority. I don't like most people in the true crime community don't mess with those people. Are just like they're not with us. We're here just trying to like educate people on how crime is solved and like the stories of victims and all that. And every once in a while, you're like Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's like get out, get all the way out.
Or
please.
People are sitting with their wine, listening to the Serial Unalive documentaries, being like, "Ah, this is nice," and I'm just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And people love the show You, and I'm just like,
yeah. The funny thing is, a lot of people don't get You because you like you're not supposed to like Joe, and some people are out here being like Joe, and it's like no, that's not the point. You missed the whole point.
I think the actor who plays him is like, guys, come on.
The actor was like, guys, please don't stand Joe. He's supposed to be like an evil version of like all the entitled guys in romantic movies that are just like, she'll like me after I stalk her and do all these creepy things.
Oh gosh, I want to talk about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because it's kind of a spoiler, kind of not, where Snow, like the way he describes Lucy Gray, the tribute he's hosting for the 10th Hunger Games, and I'm talking about the book, but like the way he like talks about her, I don't know if it's supposed to be like, oh, this is so sweet of her, or if it's supposed to be like red flag, he shouldn't be describing her in this way, but I want to take it as like, ooh, just because of what happens with his character in the end, but
because he's such a bad guy, you're just like,
yeah, well, yeah, and like in the book, he's like nice, or he's like he grew up in war, so you understand some of his thoughts. But then like this moment, I'm like, oh, is this like where we're supposed to see him turning, because he's very possessive over her? But he is like, my Lucy Gray, like he sees her talking to another guy and is like, oh, why would she do that?
I'm gonna say something that Maddie would find very controversial. Hunger Games does what Game of Thrones season 8 wanted to do, but did it badly. Because Hunger Games does that thing where like, you know, it's Game of Thrones season 8, people are like, not a advertisement, spoiler alert, whatever. Oh, you were supposed to know that she was gonna murder children the entire time. And it's just like, but that wasn't really set up very well. And then, like, in Hunger Games, it's like, you actually see, like, Coin is set up to be, like, the new progressive leader, but she's also bad.
Yeah, and, well, there's the point where Katniss is like, oh, Coin didn't send me here for propaganda. She sent me to this place to, like, get rid of me. And I believe that now because she has her talk with Snow in the end, and he's just like, oh, I didn't plan this. And we promised each other we wouldn't lie.
Yeah, and so it's just like, Suzanne Collins is good at doing that thing where she gives you a bad guy and then another guy that isn't necessarily a good guy, but like you kind of think they're the good guy at first, but then you're like, oh wait, just because that guy's the bad guy doesn't mean that this guy is the good guy. She's a really skilled writer in many ways, but especially in that way.
Yeah, I was binge reading when I was house sitting. I was binge reading the Ballads of Songbird and Snakes, and I was on page like 275, and I'm like, I really don't want to read further. It's like 500 plus pages, and I'm like, oof. but I'm just like, oh, but I don't want it to end. I want it to keep going, and I'm like halfway through, and I'm just like, oh, and then like knowing what happens to him, I'm like, oh, and I'm like, but I want to hear more about more Hunger Games in the past. I think that's. That's where my problem is. I'm like, I want to learn about more Hunger Games, and I want to see like more media about the Hunger Games, but also it's about 12 to 18-year-olds unaliving each other for funsies. But I'm like, but I want to know, because I want to see the strategy about what works. I don't want to see the violent part. I want to see the strategy part.
I always wanted to know more about Haymitch's year.
I think I've talked about this before, but I remember there was someone who basically wrote the entire Hunger Games from the winners of each Hunger Games perspective, and it's so good. And he was writing spin-off stories of like, what if Katniss didn't win her Hunger Games, and focusing on different characters, and they're all so well written, but they're not writing them anymore. And I'm just like, please let me know more. But they wrote all 75 games from the winner's perspective,
really?
Plus like what happens during the times of Mockingjay too.
Wow.
And it's so good. And there was some references to various media that they put in there, and I'm just like, this is amazing. And there are a few winners where I'm like, oh no, but we learned in the books that the victors were targeted, but like some of the victors that you like stay alive and stuff, and it's like, yay. But yeah, I can't remember the name, but I think their name is like Craig Master Bites or something like that. I'll try to look it up, but I'll try to share like what forum it's on so other people can read it. But it's really good.
That's cool. Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I want to read that now. Yeah, but yeah, that's our episode for this week. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Follow Gabe on Gabriel Custic, me at Avery Talks About Stuff. For a second, my brain was just like, is that the name of your channel? I was like, yeah. I've only had it for almost 3.5 years, brain. But anyway, be sure to like, comment,
subscribe,
rate,
review,
all the things.
Watch all of our YouTube videos.
every single podcast. You can watch them on 2x speed. No, just kidding. You can, though.
The 3-hour one could probably be on 2x speed because, well, when I talk about America's Next Top Model.
I like that episode. I need to do more America's Next Top Model episodes in the future.
Cycle 4, the most controversial episode. Oh, and I just learned that there's kind of 4 instances of blackface on America's Next Top.
There's another one?
Well, because on the All-Star cycle, they all portrayed Michael Jackson, and some of them were in they were far from it. It looked worse than a bad tan job.
Yikes.
I don't know how to describe it, but they basically were like, Allison was 1970s Michael Jackson, and Shannon was several shades darker. So there are 4 instances.
Great.
I feel it's just like, oh no, a new podcast has started. But we need to find where we're gonna go are we 1890s to 1928?
Yeah, let's see. What happened in...
I would be like, oh, something about stocks. And I'm like, oh, stock market crash. Dang it. Let's lose all of our money.
1926 events.
Agatha Christie.
A lot of depressing stuff. Pop culture events. Pop culture existed in the 20s, even though they didn't start calling it that until the 50s.
Oh, fun fact. I did not know that.
I learned that. When did I learn that? Just this past week, I was looking up something, and I found that out, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. 1926 fun facts. The first liquid-fueled rockets were tested.
But what about plasma fields?
But what about plasma fields?
And how would you control a plasma field? And I just want to point out, plasma is like fire and lightning. That's what's dubbed plasma, because it's like the 4th state of matter.
The most famous person in America was probably Charlie Chaplin. That's probably true. We could go watch an old Charlie Chaplin movie with the orchestra like it's supposed to be, because silent films were not supposed to be silent.
Oh.
They were made thinking that live orchestras were going to play all the music and sound effects.
Oh.
So when people watch silent films and are like, it's so boring, that's why, because you're only kind of watching half of it.
There are some senses that aren't being sensed. Your ears are not hearing the orchestra. Dun, dun, dun.
First inventions and wonders.
A balloon was invented in 1926. I'm just going to keep bringing that up because it's kind of funny.
The first SATs took place in June of 1926.
Can we like rip up the SATs?
Yeah, let's go rip up the SATs.
We're going to rip up the SATs.
Yeah, let's go do that. This is for you, people taking finals. Flash warning.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.